Got a bunch of cowards in New Orleans. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. We got people who are too comfortable, afraid to lose whatever they got, whatever they think they got, because they don't want to point out some wrongs or some definite injustice that's taking place in our city with some of the weakest people and some of the less well-off people and some of the less powered people in our community. They're cool with that. They're good with that. They go to sleep every night, not even giving that a second thought because they don't want to lose what they have. And let me tell you something about losing what you have. And let me tell you something about cowards. Number one, and by the way, this is a quote from, let me say this. This is a quote from William Shakespeare. And I usually don't even quote William Shakespeare because I got some issues with William Shakespeare too. But anyway, I think on this one particular item, he kind of hit it on the head. This is a quote from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, Act 2, Scene 2. It starts, quote, "Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. Of all the wonders that I yet have heard, it seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come." Unquote. William Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, Act 2, Scene 2. Now, the old bard, Billy Shakespeare, he hit it on the head with that. Because you see, a coward dies a whole lot of deaths before the final death that we all have to visit. Or at least death will visit us. And I talked about this a little bit before on a couple other programs. But you see, if you're a true man, and if you're a true woman, as he used the word valiant, he says the valiant, which means, steadfast in heart, strong, willing to persevere and willing to move forward, and most importantly, willing to sacrifice for something that is believed to be right, correct, in defense of something that is unjust. We got too many cowards in New Orleans who look the other way and won't step up and say something because they're afraid to lose something. And what are they afraid to lose? What they what they home, their home that has a 30-year mortgage on it that they don't own and that they will never own. By the way, you never really own your property anyway. You need to look into that. I challenge everybody out there within the viewing audience. Go look at the deed of your property. Read it. And when you look at a certain part of it, you will see that it says you are a tenant of that property. Now there's some other legalese around there and all kind of different little uh, additions and addendums to that. But when you take off all the layers and you take up all of the different uh, statements that surround that, the true meaning is you're only a tenant, which is a temporary holding. And if you think that I'm not saying something that's factual, all you have to do is look at all the foreclosures, look at all of the sales that are taking place right now for properties that have been snatched away from people for a lot of different reasons, tax liens, other sorts of liens, and the like. Then you begin to really understand some things. So those who are tied into this fact that, oh, I own my home, no, you don't. What you own is your own debt. So if that's one of the things that you willing to be a coward for, you better understand what you're being a coward for. All right. Now, it goes deeper than that, but that's the bottom line of it. All right. And even if you have paid off that, some people might say, oh, well, I done paid off my mortgage. I don't even have to pay no more house note. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something, sir or madam, Mr. Intelligentsia. Miss, miss a tax bill or any other type of requirement that the governments and the quasi governments and quasi institutions of power put on you pertaining to that particular piece of property, and then you will see just how much you do on it. Then you will see the reality of it. But anyway, I digress on that. The point is, I'm saying, if that's one of the things that you're being a coward about and you're willing to stay shut and not step up and step forward and speak about things and say things, I don't care if it's in on your job, I don't care if it's in your church, I don't care where it's at. If you see something that's not right, and if you see something that's unjust, and you see something that's causing some pain and some problems for individuals unwarranted, you need to be a man, you need to be a woman, you need to step up and you need to address that. Bring it to the forefront. And hey, you know what? If you lose something for it, so what? You lose something for it. Because I have as of yet to see anybody take any of the crap that people go through all the stress, anxiety, pain, blood, sweat, and tears for, drop that in that 6 foot hole they put you in once you're dead. I haven't seen it. And guess what? If they do put some stuff in there, just wait a little while. Somebody gonna wind up ripping that off anyway. Cause they ain't gonna do you no good in that hole. None. So you need to readjust the thinking process on that. What are you afraid to lose? You're afraid to lose a job? Well, the first thing you got to ask yourself is about losing a job. Number one. There was a point in time when you didn't have that job. There was a point in your life that you had to apply for that job because you were doing something else. You were somewhere else in your life. So you didn't have that job. So just like you reached out to get that job, then you reach out to get another one. If just so happens that you lose that job because you stand up for something that's right and is correct, and you know it's just in your heart. Just say what you have to say and do what you have to do. Based upon what you are observing and seeing needs to be addressed. And you know in your heart it needs to be addressed, but you're being what? You're being a coward. You're being a coward and you don't want to lose the petty things that you have. You follow me? The other thing, all right, friends, if you're going to say something that's correct and the proper thing to say, the proper thing to address in a proper manner, and you lose a friend for it, you didn't have a friend in the first place. Okay? That wasn't your friend in the first place. That was just someone who was an acquaintance who happened to call you a friend because it was convenient. So if you bring something out and you bring a particular perspective, whether it's about them or not about them, whether it's about something they may believe or they may think, and you bring it out because you know something is not right with it, and you want it addressed and you speak up on it, and if they drop you as a friend because you do that, they wasn't your friend in the first place. So if you're worried about losing that, as a matter of fact, that's a good way to test to see if you got some real friends. Say some stuff that you know is going to irritate some people because it needs to be addressed, it needs to be pointed out, it needs to be talked about and changed. If that person still hangs with you at that point, that's a true test of that person really being your friend for all the right reasons and not for all the wrong reasons. We got to get a little bit more smart about how we conduct ourselves and how we look at the approach of what we do in our day-to-day and all the things that impact us on a society level. with all the different levels of society.